Jimbour Station came into existence in 1841. In its early days, Jimbour was one of the great properties of Western Queensland and at one time was described as the Mecca of civilization on the Darling Downs. As the northern outpost of European settlement, Jimbour also holds a special place in Queensland and Australian history. It was the property from which Ludwig Leichhardt commenced his famous trek across Western Queensland to the Northern Territory. Jimbour is now set to transform itself into a significant wine-producing entity with the construction of 52 acres of vineyard under the guidance of nationally recognised expert Peter Scudamore-Smith, Master of Wine.
I was born in Queensland. In fact, I'm a local from the South Burnett, and consequently have an enormous amount of experience with the local country, particularly west of the Great Divide, which runs into the Darling Downs. In 1991, I became a Master of Wine from the Institute of Masters of Wine in London, and consequently the second Australian to do so. In the lead up to that achievement, and during my wine judging career, I've learnt a lot about the wines of Europe, other countries, as well as Australia and Queensland. And now that takes me to think through those aspects into the wines for Jimbour. There are 4 wines in range: Linkeith, which is a blended varietal style, white and red; Jimbour Station, a range of varietal wines such as Viognier, Chardonnay and Merlot, etc. Reserve wines, which are Ludwig Leichhardt Reserve Merlot, Pinot Noir Chardonnay sparkling wine and Chardonnay. And the pinnacle of the company, the Jimbour Shiraz 2003, which is the company's icon wine.
Great wine begins in the vineyard. We have a strong respect for the environment and a commitment to cutting-edge vineyard technology to yield the highest quality grapes. Through meticulous attention to detail in the vineyards, Jimbour Wines are able to express the unique and diverse character of Darling Downs soils and Queensland climate.
Obviously, being a vineyard manager, I have a great relationship with our winemaker, Peter Scudamore-Smith. He determines when he wants the fruit in Beaumay, sugar level. So after bud burst, go through the progressions in the vineyard, through to flowering, through to berry set. All our watering's done around flowering because we don't really want to stress the vine out at flowering. We want to keep them happy so we get a good pollination happening. Once we have berry set, we more or less shut the water off. We start stressing them. Our main goal is to have a small berry rather than a big pulpy fruit. We want a small berry with good skin, especially in the reds. From there on, from berry set on to about veraison, Peter will start talking about at what stage he wants the fruit. So 13.2 Beaumays, this is the measurement we use to measure our fruit sugar levels.
Jimbour Wines are major supporters of the arts, proudly sponsoring the Queensland Orchestra, the Queensland Ballet and the State Library of Queensland. Their commitment to the arts is their testimony of blending fine wine and art. Jimbour Wines produce a range of distinctively Queensland wines under 4 major brands: the Linkeith Range, the Jimbour Station Range, the Ludwig Leichhardt Reserve Range, the Jimbour Range.
The reserve wines of the company are named after Ludwig Leichhardt, the famous German explorer. Leichhardt left Jimbour in the 1850s to travel to the Gulf of Carpentaria, Port Essington, and his name is synonymous with the region. So there are two wines in the Ludwig Leichhardt range as table wines. The Ludwig Leichhardt 2005 Chardonnay. That wine is entirely granite belt grapes, which have been aged in new barrels. The idea of the wine is to make a very fine, long and minerally Chardonnay with understated oak and intense flavour. Wines capable of bottle aging for quite significant periods of time before they hit their peak, generally 3 to 5 years. The red in the range is Ludwig Leichhardt Reserve Merlot. The current wine is 2004. That's a blend of Granite Belt and Darling Downs Merlot, aged in new tight grain barrels to make quite a strongly tannic and rich style of Merlot, paralleling very close to Cabernet Sauvignon as the style since we started in 2002. This is young Verdelho, 2 or 3 weeks before bottling. Very pale colour. It's still partly cloudy, but that'll clear up when we filter it. The major aromas are pawpaw and mango. Very aromatic, very strong, very perfumed. The wine is non-oaked, in other words, it has no extra tannins in it. It's meant to be quite medium-bodied and delicate and easy drinking on the taste. Very powerful fruit flavours, very strong, nice honey, again the nice melon, the mango, and then very limey acidity, clean, mouth-watering. A great wine to drink with a lot of the salads we have in this part of the world, outside style dining, barbecue dining, veranda dining, casual dining. So that's the style of the wine. Verdelho is an expanding category in Queensland. It's extremely important to Jimbour Wines. It's sold under the Jimbour Station range. It has a good track record in being one of the most widely available Verdelhos in Queensland. Also quite highly decorated, particularly through getting a gold in the Queensland Wine Awards in 2005. We're very, very proud of the style of the wine. It is not a shrinking violet, it's quite a full flavoured wine, it's quite high in alcohol. Various vintages range between 13 and 13.8. It's full flavoured, despite the fact it's being unoaked, so you have a very accessible, consumer-friendly drink. The wine is not a single vineyard wine, and in fact it's a blend of wines from warm regions in southeast Queensland. Clearly it includes the vineyard at Jimbour Station, on the station, but also grapes come from the North Burnett and the South Burnett and elsewhere in the Darling Downs. So it's a large blend, and that's very important for style. It's very important to have large volumes available to sell up and down the coast of Queensland.
Jimbour Vineyard encompasses many varieties from Cabernet Sauvignon, Merlot, Shiraz, Verdelho, Viognier and Chardonnay.
My name's Andrew Corrigan and I'm a wine commentator and a wine business consultant, and I specialise in the business and the marketing and the education of wine. And some years ago I passed some pretty tough examinations that are put on by the Institute of Masters of Wine in London, although you can do the exams here in Australia in Sydney and you can also do them in California. But I managed to pass that exam, and they're pretty tough exams, and I'm pleased to have that qualification so I can call myself a Master of Wine. And there aren't too many of those around, but we're famous for being quite expert in our respective fields, and my field is tasting and judging wine and being able to teach it and a lot about the business of wine. One of the interesting things about Jimbour Wines is that they're located on the Darling Downs. Their own vineyards are just to the north of Dalby, and it's a bit on its own there. It's on the edges of the Darling Downs, and the focus in Queensland has been on the Granite Belt and the South Burnett, but increasingly there are new producers who are on the Darling Downs, and there's great promise for the future. But at the moment, Jimbour is a pioneer, doing it quite well, and really forging a new tradition and a new exciting wine region. Yeah, I like the look of Jimbour for that. The labels are good. They've had good winemaking from the beginning. They've set it up very professionally, and almost from the earliest days, the wines have been pretty good, pretty competent, and some of them downright exciting, and I think there's lots more to look forward to.
Jimbour Wines consistently receive critical acclaims each year from world-renowned James Halliday, Australian Wine Companion, with the 4.5 star, ranking amongst the best in Queensland. 2003 Linkeith Sunrise White, a wine made from very ripe grapes, with the Viognier partly raisined, a medium-bodied dry white. 2004 Linkeith Sundown Blend, a wine made from a hot vintage, robust in alcohol, soft fruit style, tannins balanced by sweetness, a medium-bodied sweet red table wine. 2005 Jimbour Station Verdelho, an approachable wine with plenty of style from the rich, ripe fruit, a variety well suited to Queensland culture. A successful wine, meticulously crafted to be a wine for enjoyment, a medium-bodied, fruity dry white. 2005 Jimbour Station Chardonnay, a wine made from a blend of regions with a spectrum of ripeness. Oak has been cleverly understated, produces a long, subtle, soft finish, a full-bodied, dry white. 2006 Jimbour Station Viognier, an emerging variety with plenty of style from the rich, ripe fruit and a variety suited to the warm growing conditions at Jimbour, a full-bodied dry white. 2005 Jimbour Station Rosé, a fresh and vibrant style oozing with fruitiness, made from several varieties and different regions to produce flavour diversity, has deliberate, lively acidity, a light-bodied, soft, dry red. Jimbour Station Shiraz, a stylish wine blended from cool and warm-grown grapes, has well-integrated flavours and complexity, shows cool aromatics on nose and weighty warm region characters on the palate, full-bodied, dry red. 2004 Jimbour Station Shiraz Grenache Petit Verdot. The Grenache was harvested ultra-ripe, while the Petit Verdot had tiny berries to contribute great colour, a soft, medium-bodied dry red. 2005 Jimbour Station Merlot, great to blend spicy, sweet mocha, tomato bush fruit from cooler climates with rich, ripe berry fruit, a medium-bodied dry red. 2005 Jimbour Station Cabernet Sauvignon, a stylish wine blended from parcels of well-ripened grapes, rich in fruit character with tannin length encouraged by post-ferment maceration, portion-aged in fine-grain oak, a full-bodied dry red. 2005 Ludwig Leichhardt Reserve Chardonnay, a wine made from a warm granite belt season with good ripeness, intensity, built to age slowly and show complexity from barrel aging, has savoury acidity, a medium-bodied dry white. 2004 Ludwig Leichhardt Reserve Merlot, a wine made from a dry granite belt season with excellent ripeness and intensity, designed to develop in bottle, has highly intense fruit, understated finesse, earthiness and complexity, a medium-bodied dry red. 2003 Jimbour Shiraz, made from a hot and ripe year when the vintage was early, in February. The grapes were cold macerated, then hot fermented to 30 degrees Celsius and heavily worked to extract maximum tannin, though the wine has been finished off soft, but it's the weight in the mouth that counts, and it shows persistence. A minor portion of Viognier has been blended, full-bodied dry red. Fortified, Old Monty Tawny Port, made in a soft, sweet ruby style and blended with fortifieds from previous seasons. A sweet, fortified red dessert wine. You can find your favourite Jimbour Wines product at all good independent retailers and selected Liquorland and First Choice superstores.